What's up guys, welcome back. Today you're in for a treat. We're gonna cover both ends of the steak spectrum. For those of you guys that wanna splurge, I'm gonna show you how to properly cook the Rolls Royce of steaks, which is this Japanese A5 Wagyu Strip. And for those of you that are like me and balling on a budget, I'm gonna show you how to transform this Choice Porterhouse into something special. But before we do that, please take a quick second to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that bell to enable notifications as well. All right guys, so here we have $153 A5 Japanese Wagyu Strip. Super marbled, as you can see here. I'm gonna show you guys how to properly cook this. If you're trying to splurge, this is the way to go. There's literally no better tasting steak on the planet. I'm gonna show you guys how to cook this at home. And then over here, the more budget friendly, we caught this on sale, $7.99 a pound. So for less than 15 bucks, this is gonna serve two people right here. This is a beautiful Choice Porterhouse steak. It's about 2 inches thick. I'm gonna show you some tips and tricks on how to transform this into something special as well. There's a couple techniques that we're gonna use today to transform this Choice and try to make it compete with the Wagyu as much as possible. First being what we're calling a dry brine. So we're gonna heavily salt this steak with kosher salt. You wanna do this about an hour per inch of thickness on the steak. So this one is about 2 inches thick. So we're gonna season it about 2 hours before it's time to cook. So what that does is it allows the salt to penetrate the steak, getting flavor all the way in there. So you wanna heavily salt it on all sides, then we're gonna pop that in the fridge for about 2 hours.
And this episode is sponsored by Upside. From cringing at the pump to getting an eye-popping check at your favorite restaurant, inflation is hitting us all where it hurts, and it really hurts. That's why I started using Upside. Upside is an incredible app for everyone who buys gas, groceries, or dines out, which I do all those things. With every purchase, I'm earning cash back thanks to Upside. My favorite part is earning cash back at the pump with these crazy gas prices we're all going through right now. And all you have to do to get started is download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play. Use my promo code MrMakeItHappen and get $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more. Next, you can claim an offer for whatever you're buying on Upside. Check in at the business, pay as usual with a credit or debit card, and get paid. You can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Upside users are earning more than $1 million every week. That's probably why they have a 4.8 star rating on the App Store. So download the free Upside app and use the code MrMakeItHappen to get $5 or more cash back on your first purchase of $10 or more.
So as you can see, after 2 hours, we've had enough time for salt and science to do its thing. The steak has reabsorbed some of that moisture, taking the salt with it. Now we're gonna give it a top coat of seasoning, which I'm going down with my AP seasoning. You can also use your favorite steak seasoning or a blend of salt, pepper, garlic, and onion powder. Preferably something low sodium since we just salted the hell out of this bad boy. We got our oven preheated to 275. And we're gonna do what's called the reverse sear method. So basically what we're gonna do is slow cook it until the internal temperature reaches about 15 degrees below what we want our final temperature to be. And then we're gonna sear it hot and fast and baste it with butter, garlic, and herbs. So now that we have our steak seasoned properly, it's going into the oven at 275 until it reaches about 115 degrees internal temperature. All right, so after about 40 minutes, the steak is right up to the temperature that I want it to be at for the reverse sear method. We've cooked it for the most part internally. Now we're gonna get a nice crust on it with a hot and fast sear, baste it with some butter, garlic, and herbs, and we're gonna make a delicious cream sauce to go with it. Big on flavor, we're going in with 2 tablespoons of Kerrygold butter. We're gonna allow that to melt. So we're working over medium heat here. The butter's just about melted. We're going in with 2 tablespoons of diced shallot. You could also use onion if that's what you have on hand. And then we're gonna add about a cup or so of diced shiitake mushrooms. This is one of my favorite sauces to serve with steak. If you don't like mushrooms, you can leave the mushrooms out. But the rest of you guys that got some sense, definitely go in there with some mushrooms. Any mushroom will work here. I like shiitake, but bella mushrooms will work as well, white mushrooms. Again, whatever you have on hand. They're gonna immediately absorb that butter, absorb all the flavor from the shallots. We're gonna add just a touch of avocado oil in here. It's already smelling good. Go on about a teaspoon of avocado oil. We just want to soften everything up. Allow the shallots and the mushroom to start to caramelize a bit. I'm also going to throw in a sprig of thyme. We're going to fish that out later. We just want to borrow the flavor from the thyme. So just let that cook away in there. Infuse that flavor into the sauce as well. So once we've got some nice color on the shallots and the mushrooms, I'm going in with a teaspoon or two of garlic paste. And then I'm gonna add a half teaspoon of Better Than Bouillon beef base, just to beef up the beef flavor. Remember, we're cheating a little bit today, guys. We're trying to keep up with that Wagyu. So we're gonna pull out all the stops. Let's work that in. The next guest to arrive to the party is a little Dijon mustard. Whatever you got laying around will work, about a teaspoon of that. Next, I'm just gonna sprinkle in a teaspoon of all-purpose flour. This is gonna help thicken up the sauce a little bit. You don't wanna go too crazy. You don't want it to be too thick. Just work that flour in. It should form almost like a paste. And then we're gonna deglaze with, you guys know my favorite, a little bit of alcohol. Optional though, you can use beef broth instead of the alcohol, but you guys know me. I'm not gonna miss an opportunity for a sip. About an ounce or so of bourbon. To deglaze. After that bourbon's cooked off, we're gonna add 1 cup of beef broth. Bring that up to a boil. You'll notice that things will start to thicken up as soon as it reaches a boil. Then we'll turn the heat down and add in our heavy cream. And then, my friends, you have yourselves the most delicious sauce you've ever paired with steak. This stuff is gonna be good on chicken. Great over some mashed potatoes. So just mix everything until it's nice and smooth. It'll start to thicken up as it reduces a bit. And then lastly, we're gonna add about a 1/4 cup of heavy cream. Mix that in and just let that simmer for a minute or two to reduce. Season to taste. And you have yourselves a mushroom cream sauce. So it's important to season this at the end because that Better Than Bouillon does have quite a bit of sodium in it, so you don't want to get crazy with the seasoning before you add that. Once it's in there and you taste it, you can add the seasoning as needed. I'm just going in with a little salt and pepper or a little all-purpose seasoning, and it'll be just where you want it. I'm gonna set this off on the back burner, let that simmer on super low until it's time to serve it up. All right, so once we get our skillet smoking hot, I'm gonna go in with some avocado oil. I like to use avocado oil for high heat cooking like this because it has a high smoke point. So we're gonna add about 2 tablespoons of avocado oil to the skillet. Give that a second or two. All right, so now that our skillet's smoking hot, always lay the meat away from you. Then we're gonna press down for maximum surface area contact. You really want that steak to be flush with the skillet. That way we get a nice even crust and sear. Beautiful color, that's what we're going for. And that, my friends, is a perfectly seared porterhouse steak. You wanna sear all sides. And then cook it to your desired internal temperature. For me, it's medium rare, but if you like it medium, cook it medium. If you like it medium well, that's almost acceptable. Well done. You guys know how I feel about that. All right, and the final step of flavor for this steak is the basting. I'm going in with 3 tablespoons of butter, some rosemary, thyme, garlic, and a piece of shallot. We want to swirl all of that around. And then once that butter melts, we'll begin to baste the steak. Make sure you get that garlic flavor in there as well. Nice brown butter. Tilt the skillet towards you. Use your spoon and baste until your heart is content. Not bad for a $15 steak, huh? And now for the final step, place it on a plate and let that hang out for about 8 minutes or so. Now it's time for the star of the show, people. This is a Japanese A5 Wagyu filet. We're gonna hit it with some kosher salt. It doesn't need all the bells and whistles. You really wanna let the steak kind of speak for itself. Salt and pepper would be good here, or just a simple all-purpose seasoning. I wouldn't do anything more than salt, pepper, garlic, and onion powder, honestly. And that's exactly what we're using today. Just a light application. You really want to be able to taste the meat here. Flip it over and give the same love to the other side. This steak right here is just gonna melt in your mouth. If you've never tried Wagyu, it's definitely worth trying. I realize it's super expensive. Maybe save it for a special occasion. Fellas, if you want to impress your lady, definitely a good call if she's a steak lover. All right, so the same deal here, guys. We're gonna get the skillet smoking hot, go in with a couple tablespoons of avocado oil, and then we're gonna lay this beauty in there. Always lay away from you. Press down. Definitely wanna get some good crust on there. You do not wanna overcook this one. All right, so after about 2 minutes, it's time to flip this beauty. Perfect sear. We're gonna turn the heat down, go in with our butter, garlic, and herbs. Allow that butter to melt. Allow the herbs and the garlic and the shallot to infuse its flavor in there. Tilt the skillet towards you and baste away. All right, guys, so the porterhouse has properly rested. Some people call it a T-bone when there's not as much filet. There's a T-shaped bone that separates the New York strip from the filet mignon. Kind of difficult thing to cook because the filet typically cooks a little faster than the strip. So don't get discouraged if you see your fillets a little overcooked. It happens to the best of us, but I think we nailed this one. So I'm gonna cut against that T-bone right there, kind of separate the strip, and then we're gonna make some slices. Got us a nice medium, a little bit more than medium rare, in between medium and medium rare, I would say. Super juicy though. Not bad for a $15 steak. All right, so the beautiful steak is carved up. Now we're going down with a little bit of that mushroom cream sauce right on top. Oh man, I can't wait to get in here for this. Little extra sauce, because why the hell not? We're here for a good time, not a long time. Can't forget those drippings. No flavor left behind, guys. Little diced chive garnish. And you have yourselves a beautiful porterhouse for 15 bucks. Next up is the A5 Japanese Wagyu. Give me some real estate to work with here. Oh man, that's perfect. Perfect medium rare. It's just falling apart. You can cut this with a spoon if you wanted to. Just melt in your mouth. So here we have the Japanese A5 Wagyu cooked perfectly. Let me know in the comments which one of these you would rather have. This bad boy was a little over 150 bucks. the Rolls Royce of beef. And then here, we took this $15 steak and got all of our money's worth out of it. Mushroom cream sauce, salt brine, reverse sear. Can't beat that. Let's get in here for a taste test. But before we do that, please take a quick second to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that bell to enable notifications as well. All right, guys, time for the moment of truth. I'm only doing this for scientific research purposes. Here goes nothing. The Wagyu literally just melts in your mouth. It's so fatty. It's just so tender. The other steak is really good too, but there's really no comparison from a tenderness perspective. I think we nailed the flavor, but you just can't beat the Wagyu steak. Give it a try.